So before we get started creating an application bar, we need to add a reference to a new assembly. So I'm going to do an add reference here. And I'm going to add a reference to Microsoft.phone-shell. The application bar control is embedded into this assembly, so you will need to remember to bring this in. So now we've done that, we now want to go to our app.xaml class. And the reason that we want to do this in the app.xaml is we want to make this global to every other form or page within your application, and you don't necessarily right now want to create a new static resource class. Prior to creating my my XAML code to actually define my bar, I do need to bring in a new namespace. I'm bringing in a shell namespace, and I'm going to go ahead and have it reference the Microsoft.phone.shell assembly I just brought in. Now that I've created my namespace or my reference, I want to go into my application.resources section to actually create my application bar. So I'm going to do shell application bar, and I'm going to give it a key. We'll call this global app menu bar. We want to go ahead and leave this as is visible, so we'll set this to true. Once we've created that, we now need to create some more XAML. We're going to create a menu items section. We're also going to go ahead and create a button section as well. So let's go back up to our menu items area and let's add a few menu items. We're going to use the application bar menu item, provide this a text, and we'll just call this item 1. Then just so we can have a few, we'll copy and paste this and do this over and over again. There's our 3 menu items. Let's go ahead and create our buttons. To do this, just again shell application bar icon button this time, and then we need to provide an icon URI. I'm going to go ahead and utilize the images that are built into the default template just so I don't have to include them. And that's it. I've created my application bar. I've provided it a menus items section where I provided 3 menu items, and I've also provided 2 buttons just to prove that you can put buttons on them as well. So how do I now reference our application bar within our application? So let's go ahead and open up our main page.xaml class. To add in our application bar that we just created, the first thing I need to do is come up in here and add a reference to application bar. And this is going to be referenced as a static resource, so we'll just provide a static resource and then just the name. And that's it. I don't need to do anything else within my page to define or tell my page to use the application bar. That's essentially what this will do for us. So let's run this and see if we get our application bar. So our application is loaded, and you can tell that I have 2 menu buttons here. So these are my application bar buttons, and then if you see these 3 little dots, these indicate I have a menu. If I click on the menu, you'll see that a menu items show up. One thing to take a look at is if I change my phone from being portrait to landscape, the menu bar is not on the bottom. It always stays on the what would actually be the physical bottom of the phone, and it just kind of rotates. Your images will change, so they'll actually change orientation, but in the menu items we'll also do the same thing. So now they're still vertical, they just happen to be wider instead of longer. So how do we create an application bar that is not used globally but is actually used by a single form? To do that, what we want to do is actually want to create a second form here. We'll call this second page.xaml. Let's go ahead and go back to my main page real quick because I want to add a hyperlink button so I can just navigate to it. Call this contents are here. and we need to give it a navigate URI. So let's go back to my second page and actually create a local copy of my application bar. I again need to provide in my shell namespace. And now what I need to do is actually need to create an application bar section in my XAML code. So say navigation, phone application page, dot application bar. And now I need to actually tell it that I want to do a button section. And then it's the same thing as I did before, where I've just created a few buttons. So I've now created my application bar that is local to my second page. One thing you'll notice is I did not add the application bar entry here. If you do this, you'll get some kind of runtime error, so you don't want to do that. So we've launched our page again, our app again, and we can see now I have a jump to second page. Pay attention, I have two buttons on here, so let's go and jump to that second page. My second page loads, and you'll see now I have 4 icons versus my 2. If I go back, you'll see it change back to the 2. So there you have it. There's a way that we can create application bar which is global to everything in reference to the static resource. We've also taken a look at how we can create an application bar which is local to a single form. So I hope you learned something. Until next time.